Give me your blood, and I shall give you freedom. Quote by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Born in a well-to-do family in Cuttack, Orissa on the 23rd of January 1897, Subhash Chandra Bose was the ninth child of Advocate Janakinath Bose and mother Prabhavati Devi. Netaji had always been a patriotic individual and his early life was littered with nationalist revelations. Later on, he cleared the Indian Civil Services exam with 4th rank and joined the duty. But after hearing about Indian nationalist movement, he soon resigned and came back to India. In 1923, he was selected to serve as the president of All India Youth Congress and also the secretary of Bengal State Congress. He was elected president of the Indian National Congress in 1938 and he defied British sovereignty by coining the term Pun Swaraj or complete self-governance. He won the presidency again the following year but resigned to create the All India Forward Bloc. Throughout his political career, he supported the principles of comprehensive self governance and didn't hesitate to use force and authority to attain them. In 1942, he earned the title Netaji. In Germany, by the Indian soldiers of Azad Hind Fauj. He was very great and brave leader of the country, who was famous for his stringent struggle in the name of Netaji. This Subhash Chandra Bose Jayanti is observed to honor this great hero who dreamed of a free India. Without freedom warriors and revolutionaries like Subhash Chandra Bose, the idea of independent India would have been impossible. This heroic individual who took it upon themselves to offer India a future will be remembered for all eternity. Jai Hind.
Subhash Chandra Bose was born on 23rd January 1897 to Janakinath Bose, a well-reputed advocate, and Prabhavati Devi. Subhash Chandra Bose's nationalistic temperament first came to light at the Presidency College, Calcutta, when he was rusticated for assaulting Professor Otten for his anti-India comments. During the mid-1930s, Bose travelled in Europe, visiting Indian students and European politicians, including Mussolini. He observed party organisation and saw communism and fascism in action. In 1938, he had become a leader of national stature and agreed to accept the nomination as Congress President. He stood for Swaraj, self-governance. But this, however, meant a confrontation with Gandhi, which also created a rift between him and Nehru. On the outbreak of World War II, Bose advocated a campaign of mass civil disobedience to protest against Viceroy Lord Linlithgow's decision to declare war on India's behalf without consulting the Congress leadership. Bose organized mass protests in Calcutta calling for the Holwell Monument, which then stood at the corner of Dalhousie Square, to be removed. Bose was thrown into jail but was released following a 7-day hunger strike. Bose's house in Calcutta was kept under surveillance by the CID following his release. Bose planned an escape with the help of his nephew, Sisir K. Bose, in a car dressed as a Pathan, sporting a long beard which he grew overnight. Bose escaped to Germany via Afghanistan and the Soviet Union. In Germany, to Hitler and Bose. I swear by God this holy oath that I will obey the leader of the German race and state, Adolf Hitler, as the commander of the German armed forces in the fight for India, whose leader is Subhash Chandra Bose. Matters worsened when the now retreating German army would be in no position to offer him help in driving the British from India. So, in 1943, Bose turned his back on his legionaries and slipped secretly away aboard a submarine bound for Japan. traveling on board the German submarine U-180 around the Cape of Good Hope to Imperial Japan via Japanese submarine I-29. This was the only civilian transfer between two submarines of two different navies in World War II. The idea of a liberation army was revived with the help of Subhash Chandra Bose in the Far East in 1943. Bose took control of the Indian National Army and was able to reorganize the fledgling army and gathered massive support among the expatriate Indian population in Southeast Asia. Spoken as a part of a motivational speech for the Indian National Army at a rally of Indians in Burma on July 4, 1944, Bose's most famous quote was, "Give me blood and I shall give you freedom." In this, he urged the people of India to join him in his fight against the British Raj. The INA's first commitment was in the Japanese thrust towards the eastern Indian frontiers of Manipur. The INA and Japanese also took possession of Andaman and Nicobar Islands in 1942. It was the Battle of Kohima and Imphal which had a significant impact on the Indian National Army. The Japanese could no longer fund their armies and eventually surrendered. The INA were no match for the British troops without the help of the Japanese and therefore surrendered to the British as well. Mystery still surrounds the disappearance and eventual death of Bose, though it is said that he is alleged to have died in a plane crash in Taipei, Taiwan, on 18 August 1945 while en route to Tokyo. The Imperial Japanese Air Force bomber he was traveling on had engine trouble, and when it crashed, Bose was badly burned, dying in a local hospital few hours later.
This is Subhash Chandra Bose speaking to Indians in East Asia. My countrymen in East Asia, while I am in Tokyo, I desire to address a few words to you, and I have no doubt that you will give them due consideration. In the first place, I desire to thank you most heartily for the warm and enthusiastic welcome that you have given me on the occasion of my public appearance in East Asia, and for the assurance that you have given me of your wholehearted support to our efforts to liberate our dear motherland. I feel overwhelmed at this manifestation of your burning patriotism and spirit of sacrifice. You know that I am always an optimist. Nevertheless, I must say that the response that I have received has exceeded my fondest expectations. I can only say in reply that I feel proud of you. Since the outbreak of the war in Europe and in East Asia, I have been saying repeatedly that we, the Indian people, could not have wished or even dreamt of a better combination of circumstances for helping us to achieve our liberty. When the world forces are helping us in this way, our task has automatically become very much easier than what it would have been otherwise. This fact should further strengthen our self-confidence and optimism and hearten us considerably in the fight that lies ahead of us. I am overjoyed to see that you have already realized that the responsibility of winning freedom does not rest merely on the shoulders of our countrymen at home. It is but natural that they should bear the brunt of the burden, and they have been doing so already. But at the same time, every Indian, no matter where he may be living at the present time, has a duty towards his country, and he must contribute his due share towards the final victory. I am convinced that India cannot hope to be free until all Indians living abroad perform their duty in this momentous world crisis. Our countrymen and our sisters and brothers at home have been doing their best in the circumstances in which they are placed. But the enemy is ruthless and desperate, and he is armed to defeat. Against such a
ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा खुशी के गीत गाए जा ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा शेर हिंद आगे बढ़ मरने से फिर भी तू न डर उड़ा के दुश्मनों का सर जो वतन बढ़ाए तू शेर हिंद आगे बढ़ मरने से फिर भी तू न डर उड़ा के दुश्मनों का सर जो वतन बढ़ाए जा कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा खुशी के गीत गाए जा ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा चलो दली पुकार के हमें निशान संभाल के लाल किले पे गाड़ के लहराए जा चलो दली पुकार के हमें निशान संभाल के लाल किले पे गाड़ के लहराए जा कदम बढ़ाए जा खुशी के गीत गाए जा ये जिंदगी है कौम की
For an enslaved people, there can be no greater pride, no higher honor than to be the first soldier of the Army of Liberation, Subhash Chandra Bose. Greetings to one and all. On the auspicious occasion of the birthday of one of the greatest leaders of all time, let us all look at the contribution of the INA in the independence of India. To begin with, the INA was actually established on 1st September 1945 by resistance leaders in association with the Imperial Japanese government. The purpose of this army was to retaliate against the British in Southeast Asia. This army disbanded due to differences with the Japanese government. Then came the second INA, led by Subhash Chandra Bose. This is the army that we call today the Azad Hind Fauj. This was the army of Bose's provisional government for free India. This army fought alongside Japan in Southeast Asia against the British forces. It attracted expatriates of India and thousands of prisoners of war in Southeast Asia. However, when these Indians were repatriated to India, they were charged for trial for treason. These trials were responsible in arousing nationalist feelings across the country. The Bombay Sepoy Mutiny and many other mutinies were the results of these very trials. तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा. Freedom is not given, it has to be taken. Dilli chalo. These were great wise words of the leader we celebrate today. That this army shook the foundation of British rule in India. Never in the wildest dreams had British thought that India could raise an entire army with such a strong leader against the British. This army, in fact, had a women regiment, the Rani of Jhansi regiment. Initiative, no matter how small or big, can make a difference. Stand up for yourself like Subhash Chandra Bose did for the entire nation.
ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा खुशी के गीत गाए जा ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा जाए ये जिंदगी है काम की काम बनाए चलो गले पुकार के कुमें निशान संभाल के लाल गले पे गढ़ के लहराए जा लहराए चलो गले पुकार के कुमें निशान संभाल के लाल गले पे गढ़ के लहराए जा लहराए कदम बढ़ाए खुशी की गीत गाए ये जिंदगी है काम की काम पे मिटाए कदम बढ़ाए खुशी की गीत गाए ये जिंदगी है काम की काम पे मिटाए